Hi, my name is Nate Martin.
I'm Talya Parker.
And we're here to teach you about the Fourier transform infrared instrument. Let's get to it.
So it begins with the glow bar source, emitting light that will bounce between the mirrors here, 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 and then into the interferometer. The beam is then split by the KVR beam splitter. And one will go to a moving mirror at the end that is calibrated by a helium neon laser, and one will come to a fixed mirror on the side. The two beams will then come back, meet up here again, and form the interferogram. Here we see a drying agent that will suck up the moisture and humidity to prevent any more decay of the KVR beam splitter. The recombined beams will come over this way, bounce between these fixed mirrors, and shoot through the sample. After it goes to the sample, it bounces around more mirrors and then to the deuterated triglycine sulfate detector, which is a type of pyroelectric detector. The detector will then send a readout to a computer to be analyzed. However, this one is not hooked up at the moment.
So now that we've learned about the FTIR and how it works, I'm going to teach you how to use the Perkinometer Spectrum 1 FTIR spectrometer with an ATR attachment. Now, what ATR stands for is Attenuated Total Reflection. And the attachment is basically this part right here, where as the rest of the FTR is in the back, and everything we just talked about is basically condensed in this back portion. So the ATR is useful because it allows us to sample or obtain spectrums of our samples while they are in either a liquid or solid state, which makes obtaining spectrums a lot more convenient. Now that we are ready to run our sample, the first thing we need to do is clean off the ATR head. So we're going to use acetone and a kidney wipe, and we're just going to make sure that anything that was there from a previous experiment isn't there anymore. Alright. So now, the program we want to open to help us run this machine, or this instrument, is the Spectrum program right here. And you're just going to hit OK, and it's going to open itself up. Now, the first thing we need to do is run a background. So we're going to go to Instrument, we're going to open it, and hit Scan. Hit OK through this. Now, alright, so we're going to run our background. So now you want to go to Scan, and you're going to first go to Options where it says Scan Type. You want to put background. The number of scans that we usually run are 5, and the range of where you're going to scan is usually between 4,000 and 650. So after we set the range, we're going to go to Instrument, and we're going to make sure the resolution is at 4 inverse centimeters, and then you should have everything ready to go. We're going to Apply and Scan. And the reason we run a background is basically to null out all the extra noise, and that way the instrument knows when we're running our sample what it doesn't really need to pay attention to. Now that we've run the background, we're going to exit out of that, we're going to go back up to Instrument and hit Scan. Click through this. Today we're going to be running methanol as our sample. So the range is going to be the same, and the options, we're going to change it to sample. It should be there by default, but you're going to want to make sure it's on that. Scan number, again, is going to be 5, and resolution is going to be 4. So, apply, and now we put our sample on. And when you're putting your sample on, you're going to want to make sure that you're covering the central circle in the middle there. And you come back and hit Scan. So now we've obtained our spectrum. So now that we have obtained our spectrum, we're not entirely done yet. You can see at the bottom right corner we have one of our peaks that cannot clearly be seen. So we want to go to View, Format View, and we're going to change the bottom here just a little bit. We're going to change it from 45 to 40 so that we can clearly see the bottom of that peak. At this point, you want to go back to View again, and we're going to hit Label Peaks. That way all of our peaks are clearly indicated. For the last thing we need to do, we hit View again, go down to Add/Edit Text. So in our little text box describing the run conditions and everything that we've done here, you're going to start off with your name and the name of your sample. You're going to want to put down your scan range. So ours was 4,000 to 650. You're going to want to add the number of scans, your resolution, and finish it off with the date. Voila. So now that our spectrum is finished, all the peaks are labeled, the run conditions are clearly indicated, we can finally print this out. So here at Alfred we have multiple FTIRs with ATR heads attached to one printer. So you want to make sure that the printer or the system is hooked up to the right instrument. The instrument that we are using is A, so you want to take this knob and bring it to A. Good. Back at the computer here, we're going to go up to File, Print, and hit OK. Now we have our finished spectrum. So the majority of the samples that will be run on this instrument are going to be liquid, but in case you have to analyze a solid sample, I'm going to show you how to do that. So first you're going to start by putting your sample down here. We don't have an actual sample to use, but I'm just going to put your sample down, cover it with this plate, and you're going to bring this little arm over, and you can see a hole here, and that's where you're going to bring your arm over, position it above it, and twist it to the right. And this is going to put pressure down on this little cap right here. So now when you go to run your scan, you're going to want to check over here where it says monitor. You're going to click on it. This is going to show the pressure that that arm is putting on the sample. Now on this machine it's broken, but it's still important to know how to do this. So you would move the arm back and forth until it's at about 75, and at that point you'd be done, you'd hit stop, and you'd be able to run your scan.
Now you know the basics about how an FTIR works.
And how to run them with an ATR attachment using the spectrum software. Thanks for watching.